Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Sport This Week video. And in today's video I've got tennis, basketball, rugby, football, UFC, boxing and NFL news. If you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So starting off this week, I'm going to start off with the rugby news, and it is the carrying on of the Six Nations. And France won 36-17 versus Scotland. England won 23-19 versus Wales, and Ireland won 57-6 versus Italy. And so yeah, that is all the rugby news. Moving on to the tennis news, where there is quite a bit of news as there was 3 tournaments going on at once. So it's the continuation of the Dubai Tennis Championships. It was the start of the Mexican Open, and it was the start of the Qatar Open. So I'm just going to have to put a mix of like results in, and you'll just see when it gets to the final, I'd say who wins what. So starting off this week, Djokovic won 2-0 versus Musetti. Tsitsipas and Lopez won 2-0 versus Saville and Smith. Zverev won 2-1 versus Brooksby. Sabalenka won 2-0 versus Cornet. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Parr. Nadal won 2-0 versus Kudla. Zverev and Melo lost 2-1 versus Glasspool and Heliovara. Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Zageri. Djokovic won 2-0 versus Kach. Nadal won 2-0 versus Kozlov. Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Wolf. Djokovic lost 2-0 versus Vesely. Sabalenka lost 1-0 versus Swiatek. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Nishioka. Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Giron. Nadal won 2-0 versus Paul. Lopez and Tsitsipas won 2-1 versus Cabal and Furrer. Tsitsipas lost 2-0 versus Norrie. Nadal won 2-0 versus Medvedev. Lopez and Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Glasspool and Heliovara. Swiatek won 2-0 versus Kontaviet to win the Qatar Open. Rublev won 2-0 versus Vesely to win the Dubai Tennis Championships. Lopez and Tsitsipas won 2-0 versus Ari, Valo and Roger to win the Mexico Doubles Open. And Nadal won 2-0 versus Norrie to win the Mexico Open. So yeah, that is all the tennis news. Quite a bit of news this week. Probably won't be as much next week. But yeah, that is all the tennis news. Moving on to the basketball news now, which there isn't as much as usual, but still a little bit. Celtics won 129-106 versus Nets. Bulls won 112-108 versus Hawks. Heat won 115-100 versus Knicks. 76ers won 133-102 versus Timberwolves. Clippers won 105-102 versus Lakers. Celtics won 113-104 versus Pistons. Heat won 133-129 versus Spurs. Bulls lost 116-110 versus Grizzlies. 76ers won 125-129 versus Knicks. And Celtics lost 128-107 versus the Pacers. So yeah, that is all the basketball news. Moving on to the football news now. Chelsea won 2-0 versus Lille. Villarreal drew 1-1 versus Juventus. Burnley won 1-0 versus Spurs. England women won 3-1 versus Germany women to win the Arnold Clark Cup. Liverpool won 6-0 versus Leeds. Palace won 4-1 versus Watford. Atletico drew 1-1 versus Man U. Arsenal won 2-1 versus Wolves. Barcelona won 4-2 versus Napoli. Atalanta won 3-0 versus Olympiacos. Leipzig won 3-1 versus Sociedad. Zagreb won 1-0 versus Sevilla. Lazio drew 2-2 versus Porto. Betis drew 0-0 versus Zenit. Rangers drew 2-2 versus Dortmund. Marseille won 3-0 versus Qarabag. PSV drew 1-1 versus Tel Aviv. Leicester won 3-1 versus Randers. Bodo Glimt won 2-0 versus Celtic. Partizan won 2-1 versus Sparta Prague. Slavia Prague won 3-2 versus Fenerbahce. Vitesse won 2-0 versus Rapid VM. PAOK won 2-0 versus Midtjylland. Braga won 2-0 versus Sheriff. Southampton won 2-0 versus Norwich. Spurs won 4-0 versus Leeds. Man U drew 0-0 versus Watford. Palace drew 1-1 versus Burnley. Newcastle won 2-0 versus Brentford. Villa won 2-0 versus Brighton. Man City won 1-0 versus Everton. Bayern won 1-0 versus Frankfurt. Bielsa has been sacked from the Leeds job, which is a big thing as he's been there for a long time now. Liverpool won 11-10 after drawing 0-0 versus Chelsea to win the League Cup, which I mean, it was an interesting penalty shootout to sub on Kepa, and to do what he did, where he missed the final penalty and did not save a single pen, was definitely interesting. West Ham won 1-0 versus Wolves. Sevilla won 2-1 versus Betis. Lille won 1-0 versus Lyon. Napoli won 2-1 versus Lazio. And Barcelona won 4-0 versus Bilbao. And yeah, that is all the football news. Moving on to the UFC news, Makachev won via KO in round 1 versus Green. And Turman won via submission in round 2 versus Kirkunov. But yeah, the main fight was really the Makachev fight. I mean, it was very good by Makachev, but Green did come in on very short notice. Not to discredit Makachev, but that's just his main excuse, really. Moving on to the boxing news, quite a bit this week. White will fight Fury on the 23rd of April. Taylor won via split decision versus Catterall to remain undisputed super lightweight champion. Canelo will fight Bivol on the 7th of May. Hatton won via stoppage in round 6 versus Ducker. Fowler won via decision versus Makiev. Makiek. Yafai won via stoppage in round 5 versus Bautista. Okoli won via unanimous decision versus Cheslak to remain WBO World Cruiserweight Champion. And yeah, that is all the boxing news. Moving on to the final sport now, which has only got a little bit of news, and that is NFL. Even though the season has ended now, there's a little bit of news. Marpet has retired from NFL, leaving Tampa Bay. And yeah, that is all the sport news this week. Hope you have enjoyed. Like the video. If you didn't like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.